a lot has happened in the couple weeks that it feels like it's been since I recorded. I've really only skipped 1 week, but it feels like it's been months. I don't know. Time and space is very weird right now. But the eclipse is really getting to me. Um, Not in a bad way, I would say, but like I can really feel it very viscerally. Um, the last eclipse season in the fall of 24, I was like, okay, I'm ready for whatever is next. I'm allowing myself to let go of what doesn't serve me and fully knowing that there will probably be some big changes in my life, but not really knowing what they would be or where they would come from. And 10 days later ish, like within 10 days of the eclipse, the second eclipse, so like after eclipse season ended, I lost my job. And then about a couple weeks after that, my best friend of a couple years just stopped talking to me. And um, yeah, it spurred a lot of interesting emotions. And I started this podcast. I recorded probably 4 or 5 episodes before episode 1. So like I started being told to record these videos right around that time and tried and didn't like it. And then like I had a couple where like I recorded them and like only released them onto Patreon where I had no subscribers, and so it wasn't actually releasing them to anyone. But yeah, so even though I am only, I think this is maybe like 13 or 14, maybe 15, it's been a minute since I've recorded, so I've lost track of where I was. But so this is like, there's like 4 or 5 episodes that didn't get released, where I'm just kind of like learning to get my footing in front of the camera. Still don't feel like I have it. I feel like I can hear the nervousness in my voice, which is just kind of funny. But so this eclipse, now that it's been 6 months since all of that happened, I've learned a lot. I've gone through a pretty huge transformation and transmutation, which I do feel like I like actively worked towards. Um, and it's kind of like all of the like all of the parts and pieces are coming together in a way where it's like, oh, so that doesn't exist anymore because of that and that blah 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 blah. And I'm contemplating some big shifts in my like personal life of just like um, not having a studio space anymore. I've been contemplating that for about a month now. It just doesn't serve me the way that it did, and I have to either come to the arrangement of like changing it to what I need it to be now or getting rid of it entirely. I'm always contemplating moving because I have a hard time staying still, so that's another thing that's always on my mind. Um, and I'm finding myself starting relationships with people who can meet me on that deeper level of awareness and can sit and vibe and like bounce ideas back and forth. And that's something that I don't know if I've really felt in a long time. And I think it's provoking me to realize how lonely I truly was in the like way of living my life, my spiritual practices, my desire for meditation and conscious growth. A lot of people don't want to meet you there. And I'm finding myself having a multitude of interactions with different people where, like, there are some people who absolutely do not want to meet me where I'm at and are actively, like, allowing their like bully self to be activated, and their like narcissistic tendencies to like not like just like stomp all over you. And I'm just like, yeah, cool, you can do that if you want, I don't really care. But I'm gonna be over here while you throw your temper tantrum over there. Good luck with that. And then I'm also like having interactions with people where it's like the conversation flows so naturally, and we're able to really discuss and like come back to each other week to week with like different topics. Maybe like, this is what I explored in my meditations this week, this is what kind of dreams I had this week. Oh, I watched this like philosophical video, and like I've been pondering this week. And I love that like weekly check-in of like, this is what I'm exploring spiritually. And not only am I just here to tell you about it, but I'm here to kind of like bounce it off of you and off of your energy and see how you are interacting with some of the same data that I'm working with. And I know that maybe seems pretty like banal, but I find it so fun, and I'm so grateful that there are people in my life now that I can, have those conversations with. I think I've had kind of like a one person every couple of years that can fall into that boat. And so it's really cool. Like right now I have a couple different people I can and bounce these ideas back and forth between. And it feels great to be able to have friends that I can be myself and have these, half-baked ideas and realizations and philosophies and express them out loud, and realize as I'm talking, like being able to like better understand exactly what I'm feeling and thinking because I'm like actively expressing it. I think I do process information in a way of talking, which I think is why these videos are so important and have helped me grow the most, which is just so silly because I'm talking to myself, like a black reflection of myself in a camera lens in my living room. And it's like, okay, well, but like part of it is me talking, and part of it is while I'm editing, and I try to do as little edits as possible because I try to just show my thought process as I'm speaking. And part of it is like what I hear when I re-listen to it for the first time and make all my cuts. And then the other part of it is sometimes I will watch it again after I've uploaded it onto YouTube, because it'll come across, because I have like this page that I post everything on, and then I also have like my private Instagram, which is, or my private YouTube, which is just the YouTube channel that I've had for years and have actively used, and so the algorithm is better on that account. This account I made maybe 8 or 9 years ago, posted a couple videos and never used, so the algorithm on this one's kind of weird. Which I guess if I had a fresh algorithm, I might have a use for both, but I don't typically use this one for viewing. So sometimes I'll be on my regular YouTube and one of my videos will pop up, and I'll be like, all right, I guess I'll watch it, and I get a whole nother reaction of watching it, because typically I film these a couple days before they're released, and so it's kind of like it's like a sneak peek into like how I was feeling like the week prior, which is fun. And I know that I always say like I don't know if I'm ever making sense, but I think I think the reason that I kind of bring this up is I feel like I am experiencing the eclipses in a very tactile way. I think because my practices over the last probably, I don't know, 15 years, honestly, I've been trying to like figure out what grounding means. And I grew up in kind of a situation where I wasn't really in my body because it wasn't really safe to be in my body. Um, and I think over the past couple years, I've been better able to understand what that means. And I think because I have finally kind of understood what it means to be grounded, being fully grounded and yet being fully aware of the energies of both the stars and the energies like directly around me, and feeling like I'm very much like plugged into feeling very much like I'm plugged, into the local network of living things, like sitting on the porch, listening to birds. It's spring where I live, and so I'm doing a lot of like pruning dead things out of my garden, and I did a lot of work on my garden last year, and so this will be kind of like year one of like a lot of really big changes. And so I'm kind of like nervous, to watch it grow throughout the season. And I think this like relation and conversation that I'm having on a daily basis with my, physical environment is keeping me very grounded, and also allowing me to be super open to the energies of like the stars and myself, I guess. And um, all of the messages for like the last 3 months have all been basically like, you are in a liminal space. Like, I am between times from who I was and where I was and what I was doing to who I am becoming, and like the like people I'm going to be surrounded by and the energies that I'm going to be able to embody. And I really do feel like I've been in that space since the last eclipse about 6 months ago. And it's just becoming more and more prominent. And especially this past week, I have just felt, like, maybe like 2 weeks ago, if you would have asked me if I was happy with life, I would have said, absolutely. Like, I've found a way to be at peace and find serenity and happiness in every moment, whether or not it's big emotions, no emotions, feeling overwhelmed or overstimulated. Like, I I was finally kind of like starting to really accept every single moment as it happens, and diving into what needed to be felt so that it could be processed and moved along. And asking me today, I feel like I would have the same answer, but I feel like there is a longing for more. There is a knowing that there is going to be something. Like, I'm not quite there, and I don't know where there is, but there's something about just being in between and being in this kind of like void state of like, you know, I can't really focus on anything, nothing is really like exciting me. Um, like, you know, my art has over the last 6 months really kind of like not been a place where I've been feeling like I'm able to express myself. And, I don't really know what's even happening. Truly, like, I am just living purely in the moment as each moment comes. And I think to a certain degree, that maybe is hindering me because I'm not like pushing myself to do anything. But that was kind of like the intention that I set out. Like you know, I believe that like working towards something is incredibly important. As a Capricorn, I cannot underestimate the power of, practicing something every day and determination and, goals and achieving goals. Um, but there's something special about not having anything to do and just hanging out with myself and enjoying, you know, the the small simple moments of just sitting on the porch in the sunlight listening to birds, or just like tending to the garden, or doing the dishes when the light in the kitchen is perfect, like, is it maybe hindering to only do dishes when the sunlight is perfect? um I mean, I don't wait every time for that, but I might as well wait around to see when that time comes. And I think what I'm trying to say with that is like there's going to be moments where like the external world shows you, okay, this is the moment to do this, or like, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'll just sit here, look around, and kind of like whatever catches my eye is what I'll try to do. And I think that those small moments of action, rather than sitting and being like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, like, I don't understand, because that can be really overwhelming. So it's like, if you even take a small action of like, oh, maybe I'll pick up that book, or like, maybe I'll just pick this up, and like, it's like one little tiny thing at a time, kind of gets that ball rolling. And I mean, I guess I will say for myself, like March specifically, um, I have started using TikTok way more than I was. Um, Still not really that bad. Like, I mean, I'll be transparent. Like, my like digital tracker thing, like, I spent 16 hours on TikTok last week. And I've had that number be a lot higher. Um, but I've also been trying to have it be lower. Like, I just don't want to spend my life scrolling, and every 10 videos, maybe I'll watch something. And those like quick hits of dopamine really feel like they're like zapping my energy. But I also feel like I'm in a place in time where like the thing I'm supposed to be doing hasn't had a door open to me yet. And so I'm kind of just like feeling like I'm in this state of waiting. And I just don't know what to do in that state of just waiting, waiting for spring, waiting for the eclipses to be over, like waiting for the retrogrades to be over. Like, it's just always feels like a waiting game. And I'm kind of just fucking tired of it. Like, fuck it. Why am I just sitting here waiting for everything? Why am I waiting for those external circumstances to line up perfectly? It's like, if I have a pile of dirty dishes and it's my day off, and it's cloudy outside, so the sunlight isn't great, um, you know, and it's like cold and like rainy, then it's like, okay, well, maybe I open the door and close like the screen, because I have this like glass screen. I don't know, I have this really weird glass screen door where it's like a window in a door. I don't know how to explain it. So I can open the door and my whole door is then light. So maybe it's not sunny and beautiful, but then I can like embrace the rainy day by letting, twice as much light in the room. And just putting on music that I love, like creating the external. Okay, so yeah, I think that's what it boils down to, is I'm instead of waiting for the external circumstance and the external environment to be, you know, perfect conditions, or what I perceive to be perfect conditions. It's like, what can I do to create that for myself so that I'm not sitting around waiting? And I think when I get caught up in like a scrolling moment is when I don't feel like I have anything to do. And I want to learn to either sit in that boredom until I do think of something to do, because I think that's what it's taking from me. I think it's taking from me my ability to sit for 15 minutes and stare at the wall until I come up with an idea of what to do. And maybe there's nothing to do. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's watching a YouTube video about philosophy. And it's like, or maybe it's putting on music, and maybe it's just sitting on the floor and stretching. Like, there are all these things that I can do that just feel like small little moments, but can make really big impacts if I'm allowing myself to come to those naturally, versus like just scrolling until my dopamine is kind of like whacked out and not really feeling like I want to do anything because of that. The other thing I want to talk about, which is a little bit more like, I don't really know how to talk about it because I'm still kind of really processing it, is like, there are always going to be people that serve as reflections for what you need to work on. And then there will also be reflections from people who are scared to or uncomfortable meeting you where you're at. So an example of this is, there's this person in my life right now who I really want to get to know. We've gotten to know each other a little bit, but it's few and far between. And I feel like they're scared to get to know me, or maybe I make them uncomfortable for some reason. And it's rare that I find someone who can meet me in this deep reflective place and in this kind of metaphysical curiosity and like lust for life, and also kind of feels like they don't want to be my friend. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Like, what's making me want to get to know this person more if they're showing clear signs of not wanting to be any closer than a random conversation about life, which for me is just so odd, because the people who I can go deep in those conversations with, I normally, immediately become closer and get to know these other people. And I don't really know what I'm learning from it, but I think I'm learning that I'm not avoidant. I think I'm learning how to not be anxious. But also I'm learning that like a secure attachment doesn't mean just waiting for someone else to interact with you. I think to a certain degree, there's going to be a moment of me just deciding, okay, cool, I tried. You didn't say yes, but you also didn't say no, so I'm just gonna walk away, I guess. And I think part of it is that that's what I truly like crave and long for, is people who can meet me in this deeper place. And in the past, it's been few and far between. And in the last couple weeks, couple months, it's felt a little bit easier to kind of like strike up those conversations and like almost immediately know if someone can meet me there or not, and not being afraid to like start that conversation. And yeah, so it's just interesting to have a reflection where this person can go deep, and we can have really awesome conversations, metaphysical conversations for hours, um, and then they disappear and act like they want nothing to do with me. So that's kind of like a small thing that's happening in my life, which is interesting to watch. And I think part of it too is like in this kind of like liminal space between eclipses, and for me it kind of feels like the closing of a chapter. And like, I mean, I've had notions since the fall that like once early April kind of starts happening, and like once April is over, there's gonna be the changes and like the shifts I was waiting for are like gonna arrive, and I'm seeing the fruits of those seeds that were planted in the fall emotionally, and then that is being reflected back to me in my external world. So I'm excited to see what happens. But I'm also sitting in a place of like, if none of that comes in and I'm just where I'm at right now for the rest of my life, which I know is also kind of an over dramatic concept, um, like, will I be happy with the things that I'm doing? And I think part of that is that I'm not doing the self care practices that I have been trying to establish. I think I got a little bit of like sunlight in the spring and thought that I was going to be like totally good. And, all, if not most, practices dropped off. And so I'm like, okay, that reflection is that those practices, those self love, self care practices, actually are incredibly important. And, any time of year, they need to be not necessarily like prioritized over everything else, but like still prioritized in a certain way, right? And so I think it's kind of like a little bit of a sign of like, hey, don't forget like to do, you know, you want to do those things, but you're not doing it for what? For fear of feeling happy, for fear of the growth that I'm seeing. Um, and I'm falling back into this pattern of scrolling. So I'm like, okay, like I'm being shown like you could have this or you could have this, and it's your choice. Eclipse is choice. Like, to a certain degree, I mean, this is a grain of salt. I'm just a human on the internet. Please don't take my advice astrologically or otherwise for anything to do with your life. I'm simply talking about what I am experiencing at this time. But for me, I'm seeing this time as a choice of like choice of old patterns, choice of new patterns, choice of old habits, choice of new habits. Like, if I want to see the growth, and if I want to see and experience the life that I know I am worthy of achieving, having, maybe not, maybe achieving is too capitalism of a word, because you don't need to achieve anything to live a beautiful life. You can simply just live the beautiful life. And yet, that beautiful life does come with quite a few self care practices, in my experience. Being overwhelmed, overstimulated, and addicted to my phone does not make for the best version of myself. So I think it's, a really good reminder that those are the two choices. And I think I've been avoiding the choice. And we have another week of eclipse energy until it is closed out with the, is it a new moon eclipse or is it a full moon eclipse? I'm not really sure. I also don't really remember the difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse, but on like March 29th, one of them is happening and it is closing eclipse season. And yeah, I think April is going to be like a time of integration of everything that's happening right now. And then from there is, summer. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say. But yeah, so I don't really have a lot of like advice or like philosophical thinkings this week. It's been pretty hard and honestly a little bit miserable. Not in a terrible way, but like just there's a lot happening and I'm feeling a lot, and trying to stay grounded is like the only thing I'm capable of doing. And I'm realizing that trying to stay grounded while being overstimulated and addicted to my phone is not, again, going to make the best version of myself. So I'm gonna close out this episode by saying, like, pay attention to the choices and the habits that you are maybe falling back on right now, maybe seeing for the first time as perhaps like hindering towards, what you want to be doing. This is a great time to start meditating, as, I probably can say that at every episode I release every week. The best time to start meditating is today, I mean, there's that cheesy thing of like the best time to plant a tree is today, but the better time would have been 10 years ago or something. Fuck that. Today. Start today. But don't start tomorrow, because tomorrow will never happen if you do not start today. And I hope that that doesn't make me really cheesy. I have no idea who said that. Probably just an old white president, most likely. Don't know which one. Don't really care. Anyways, so I'm gonna close this week out. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will catch you next week when eclipse energy is over and I can stop feeling so fucking chaotic and scattered. So, have a good one.